Om Shanti. Good morning, Diamond Morning. Baba's Murli. Today is the 13th of September, 2022. In the essence, Baba says, sweet children, you're all brothers and you have to live together with spiritual love. Become bestowers of happiness and give everyone happiness. Become those who pick up virtues. Question. What is the reason for your not having spiritual love amongst yourself? How can there be spiritual love? Answer. When there is body consciousness, you look at the defects of one another, and so there isn't spiritual love. When you become soul conscious, and you have the concern to remove your defects, when your aim is to become Satopradhan, and you become very sweet and bestowers of happiness, there is then a lot of love amongst you. The Father's Srimad is, children, don't look at anyone's defects. Have the aim of becoming virtuous and making others virtuous. The Father has the maximum virtues. Continue to pick up virtues from the Father. Renounce everything else, and you will be able to interact with love. Such a beautiful answer. Baba says, Om Shanti. You children know that the Unlimited Father is now making you Satopradhan and showing you the main way to become that. The Father sits here and teaches you children that you are brothers and that you shouldn't have a lot of spiritual love for one another. You truly did have that, but you no longer have it. In the incorporeal world, there is no question of love. The Unlimited Father sits here and gives you these teachings. Children, whilst you are saying today, tomorrow, time is passing by. The days, months, and years are passing by. The Father has explained that you were Lakshmi and Narayan. You were Lakshmi and Narayan. Who made you like that? The Father. How did you then come down? Whilst you were coming down from the top, time continued to pass by. Those days have passed. Those months have passed. Those years have passed. And time has also passed. You know that you were Satopradhan at first. There was a lot of love amongst you. The Father gave these teachings to you, brothers. You brothers should have a lot of love amongst you. I am the Father of all of you. Your aim and objective is to become Satopradhan. You understand that the more you become Satopradhan from Tamopradhan, the more you will melt with happiness. We were Satopradhan. We brothers used to live with a lot of love for one another. You have now come to know from the Father that when you were deities, you used to interact with a lot of love for one another. There is a lot of praise of the deities of heaven. We were residents of that place. We then continue to come down from the first day to the present. Only a few more years remain for the completion of 5,000 years. It is in your intellects how you have continued to play your parts from the beginning. It is now in your intellects that, due to body consciousness, there isn't that love for one another. You continue to see defects in one another. When you were soul conscious, you didn't see defects. That one has this defect. This one is like that. You had a lot of love for one another. You now have to imbibe that same stage. Here, you look at one another with such vision that you continue to fight and quarrel. The Father sits here and explains how all of that can stop now. Children, you were Satopratan, worthy of worship deities. Then gradually you continued to fall down and you became Tamopratan. You were so sweet. Now once again, become just as sweet. You were bestowers of happiness, but you have now become bestowers of sorrow. In Ravan's kingdom, everyone began to cause sorrow for one another and use the sword of lust. When you were Satopradhan, you didn't use the sword of lust. Those 5 vices are your great enemy. This world is vicious because it is Ravan's kingdom. You also know what the kingdom of Rama is and what the kingdom of Ravan is. Whilst you are saying today, tomorrow, the golden age came to an end, and the silver age came to an end. The copper age came to an end. Now, even the iron age is to end. Whilst coming down, you have become Tamopradhan from Satopradhan. The spiritual happiness of yours has now vanished. You now have to become Satopradhan. I have come, and so I will definitely make you Satopradhan. The Father also explains, children, I come after 5,000 years, when it is the confluence age. I tell you, become Satopradhan once again. Consider yourselves to be souls and remember the Father. The more you remember him, the more your defects will be removed. When you were Satopradhan deities, you had no defects. Now, how will those defects be removed? It is souls that feel peacelessness. Now check yourselves inside as to why you have become peaceless. When you were brothers, there was a lot of love amongst you. That same Father has now come once again. He says, consider yourselves to be souls, brothers. Have a lot of love for one another. It is only because you become body conscious that you look at the defects of one another. The Father now says, now make an effort to claim a high status. You know that the Father gave you your inheritance of the new world and made you full for 21 births. The Father has now come once again. Therefore, why shouldn't we follow his directions and claim our full inheritance once again? You sweetest children were so unshakable. You didn't have any difference in opinion. You never used to defame anyone. There is now some of that. All of it has to be forgotten. All of us are brothers. You have to remember the one Father. Just have the one concern of quickly becoming Satoprata. So and so is like this one said this. Forget all of that. Put all of that aside. The Father says, consider yourselves to be souls. Make effort to become Satoprata. Don't look at the defects of others. Only when you become body conscious do you look at defects. Consider yourselves to be souls and remember the Father. When you see each other as brothers, you will only see virtues. Don't see defects. Try to inspire others to become virtuous, and you will never feel sorrow. Even if some people do something wrong, you can understand that they are Raja or Tamopradhan, and that their actions would therefore definitely be accordingly. Check yourself to see to what extent you have become Satopradhan. The Father has the maximum virtues. Therefore, pick up these virtues from the Father and renounce everything else. Renounce weaknesses and imbibe virtues. The Father is making you so virtuous. He says, you children, have to become like me. The Father is always the bestower of happiness. Therefore, constantly be concerned about giving everyone happiness and becoming Satopradhan. Don't listen to anything else. Don't defame anyone. There are definitely defects in each and every one. The defects are such that they don't even realize you have them. Others realize when someone has those defects. Some consider themselves to be very good, but sometimes wrong words emerge from them. Such things don't happen when you have a Sato Pradhan stage. Some do have weaknesses, but because of not understanding, they consider themselves to be very clever. The Father says, I am the cleverest of all. I have come to make all of you sweet. Therefore, renounce all the weaknesses you have. Feel your own pulse and check how much you love the sweetest spiritual Father. How much do you yourselves understand, and how much do you explain to others? How much do you explain to others? If you become body conscious, there wouldn't be any defects. The Father says, you have become Satopradhan from Tamopradhan. Baba says, the Father says you have become Satopradhan from Tamopradhan many times. You now have to become Satopradhan once again. Follow Srimad and remember me. Each of you has a great burden of sin on your head. Therefore, they only be concerned about removing it. People go in front of the deity idols and say, I am a sinner, because deities have the attraction of purity. This is why their praise is sung, and the praise is, you are full of all virtues, 16 celestial degrees full. Then, when they go back home, they forget. When they go in front of the deity idols, it is as though they dislike themselves. Then, when they go back home, they no longer feel that dislike. They don't have the slightest thought about who is the one who made them, the deities, like that. The Father now says, children, study this study. If you want to become deities, you have to study this and follow Srimad. First of all, the Father says, you have to make yourself Satopradhan. Therefore, constantly remember me alone. You also have to imbibe divine virtues. Consider yourselves to be brothers and remember the one Father. You have to claim your inheritance from the Father. You also have this in your intellects. On the one hand, people praise him, and then, because they don't know anything, they also defame him. They say that he is in the cats and dogs, and that all are a form of God. Try to remember the Father as much as possible. Although previously too, people used to remember God, that was adulterated remembrance. That was the remembrance of men. The Father now says, have unadulterated remembrance and simply remember me alone. All of those you have been remembering on the path of devotion have now become Tamopradhan. Souls are Tamopradhan. And because they are Tamopradhan, they only remember Tamopradhan beings. You now have to become Satopradhan once again. There is no devotion there that they would have to remember anyone that is in the golden age. The Father explains, children, only be concerned about how to become Satopradhan. Knowledge is very easy. You can also explain using the badge. This is the unlimited Father and this is the inheritance we receive from him. The Father establishes heaven. That will only take place here. The birthday of Shiva means the birthday of heaven. How were the deities created? They became that by studying this study at this conference age. Everything depends on studying and having remembrance. By staying on the pilgrimage of remembrance, you forget other things. The Father continues to explain, children, renounce body consciousness. Don't look at anyone's weaknesses. So and so is like this and is doing that. There is no benefit in those things. It becomes a waste of time. There is a lot of effort required to become Satopradhan from Tamopradhan. There are also obstacles. There aren't such storms in studying as there are in having remembrance. You have to check yourselves to see to what extent you stay in remembrance of the Father and to what extent you love Him. There should be such love that you just cling to the Father. Waha Baba, you're making us so sensible. You are the highest on high, and you're making us so elevated in the human world. You have to praise the Father internally in this way. You are performing wonders. You should melt with happiness. It is said, there is no nourishment like happiness. And so, there is also the happiness of meeting the Father. We will become that by studying this. There should be a lot of happiness. The unlimited Father, the Supreme Father, is teaching us. Baba is so merciful. We used to listen to the versions of God previously too, but because they were false, they didn't touch our hearts. If God were in the pebbles and stones, how would He speak? You have many new things in your intellects, which are not in the intellect of anyone else. As you make further progress, your deity tree will grow. The Father says, give everyone the message. What message we have to give everyone? To consider themselves to be souls and to remember the Father. And their sins will be absolved. You will then become the masters of the world. No founder of a religion can say this. This is why they cannot be called messengers. Only the one Father gives the message. And what message does He give? Constantly remember me alone. And you will become Satopradhan and come to the Satopradhan world. This is the message. This is the Father's message. Write this message everywhere. Everything depends on this. For Europeans, all the knowledge is in the pictures of the cycle and the tree. Simply tell them how the history and the geography of the world repeat, and they will be amazed. Amarnath Baba, the Lord of Immortality, is relating the true story of immortality in order to take you to the land of immortality. This is the land of, that is the land of immortality. This, here, down below, is the land of death. There is the ladder. We are now going up, and then we will come down number-wise. Always consider it to be Shiv Baba who is telling you this. Simply continue to remember Him alone, and there will then be happiness. Shiv Baba enters this one and teaches you, children. We are a wonderful couple. Baba says to this one, you are my wife. I adopt the children through you. And he's saying this to Brahma Baba, to this one. You are my wife. I adopt the children through you in this context. Then he appoints one of the children that he has adopted to look after the mothers, that is Mama. This Brahmaputra is the biggest river of all. You say you are the mother and father to this one. Baba himself says, whilst walking and moving around, I remember the Father. Brahma Baba is saying this. I remember the Father with a lot of happiness. No matter how far you walk, whilst in remembrance, you will not become tired. The more remembrance you have, the more sparkle there will be. People eagerly go higher up on pilgrimages with so much happiness. All of that is the wandering of the path of devotion. That too is in the play. Devotion is the night. The day is now coming to an end for you. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bab, Dada. The spiritual father says, Namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say, Namaste to the spiritual father. Essence for Dharana, points to practice for today. First point, have such love for the one Father that you constantly cling to him. Have such love for the one Father that you constantly cling to him. Day and night only praise the Father. Melt with happiness. Second point, stay in the unadulterated remembrance of the one Father and become Satopradhan. Never consider yourself to be very clever. Become as sweet as the Father. Baba's blessing for today. May you become perfect and complete and experience supersensuous joy by making the foundation of your purity strong. The foundation of Brahmin life is purity. When this foundation of yours is strong, you will experience complete happiness and peace. If you have little experience of supersensuous joy and sweet silence, then your foundation of purity is definitely weak. If you have little experience of supersensuous joy and sweet silence, then your foundation of purity is definitely weak. It is not a small thing to make this vow. Bapdada gives congratulations with blessings from his heart to souls who fulfill the vow of purity. In order to receive the blessing of becoming complete and perfect from this vow, put a full stop of thinking, seeing, speaking, and doing anything wasteful and bring about transformation. And Baba's slogan for today, to remain constantly lost in the depths of one is to become someone who stays in solitude. Om Shanti. Baba wants us to become pure, to become sweet as he is, and to live with so much happiness. And he doesn't want us to see defects. So let's make this special effort. Om Shanti. Do have a very powerful day in Baba's remembrance.